Welcome everybody to our webinar. This is usually a monthly webinar that we host in conjunction with BitAngels. So BitAngels, as most of you would know, is one of the first, if not the first, network for crypto investors and VCs, angels. And the projects that have come through are really a who's who in the ecosystem today. Michael Turpin is a co-founder of BitAngels, and it is with great pleasure that we are partnered with BitAngels Network, and we are running the Singapore chapter. So some of you will be frequent attendees at our events. Welcome you back again. And those of you who are new, warm welcome to you to join us today. As all of you know, NFTs are exploding in the scene right now. And this is really quite an interesting way that the mainstream non-crypto savvy people are coming into the crypto space. Nobody could have expected this 3 years, 4 years ago. I myself got into the space in 2017 into crypto. And back then, NFTs were a really, really small thing. Today, as one of my slides would show, the last 30 days have already shown over $2.5 billion going into NFTs. And as I'm sure all of you know, sports stars, music artists, digital artists, etc., are making a comeback and making a lot of bucks from their NFTs. So that's a great thing to see the creatives industry really blossoming and flourishing right now with access to this new way to market their products. So without further ado, let me launch into my slides. I will share my screen right now. So what are some of the alternatives to Ethereum mainnet? As most of you who are actually trading on the Ethereum network or who are using NFT marketplaces or NFTs, gas fees are sometimes really crazily high, right? I think over the last 1-2 weeks, it has been something like $30 to $50 for a normal transaction. At some points in time in the past, when it was really, really hot, it could easily be $100 to $200. So this doesn't really make sense if you're buying lower and cheaper items, because for you to pay the transaction fees, which are so high, it really defeats the purpose. So this is why the topic I'm speaking about today, what are some of the alternatives to Ethereum mainnet NFT marketplaces? Now, some of the most popular Ethereum marketplaces are the leaders in the NFT space right now. We ourselves actually have an e-commerce shop on OpenSea. We have used Raribles. I know the founder of Mintables is actually also based in Singapore. And of course, most of the early networks are all on Ethereum mainnet. So today's sharing session, during today's sharing session with me, I'll be taking you through a very brief walkthrough why we need to have alternatives and what are some of these alternatives, right? So as you can see from these logos, these are some of the players in the space, right? Axie Infinity, of course, has been waving the flag for games that are using NFTs as a key foundational piece. And blockchain architecture and infrastructure has been led by a lot of these companies that you can see today. So in terms of NFT marketplaces, OpenSea is way ahead of the pack. And these are 3 of the networks, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Polygon Matic. Of course, there are other kinds of protocols, and this is something that I'll go through in short order. But as you can see from the statistics, OpenSea really leads the rest of the competition. Of course, Nifty Gateways, which are owned by the Winklevoss twins, Mintables, that was actually funded by Mark Cuban this year, and Raribles, all right, that's another competitor for an open marketplace. These are all very, very popular. You can see some of them, Super Rare is there as well. Now, of course, Binance Smart Chain was very, very popular before the recent regulatory heat on Binance. And you can see the fair number of NFT marketplaces on Binance Smart Chain as well. So Binance Smart Chain has really cornered a huge piece of the DeFi pie. And for NFT marketplaces as well, it is also waving the flag. Polygon has been really popular over the last 1.5 years. They have grown from strength to strength and really positioned themselves very well amongst the competition in terms of Ethereum mainnet layer 2 applications. So although Polygon, in our opinion, isn't the greatest technology platform, but their marketing has been really good and their community adoption has been really great. So some of their marketplaces are quite popular as well. Of course, a lot of the statistics you cannot see because some of them are measured by looking at the Ethereum network. So some of these are not really visible. So some of the emerging marketplaces for NFTs not powered by Ethereum are shown on this slide. Async Art, Block Party, Cheese, Eternal, Fantastic Swap, for example, etc., etc. Now, what will go into your selection of a non-Ethereum NFT marketplace? Now, we all know why you should go to Ethereum mainnet NFT marketplaces and why you shouldn't, right? So let me just state the obvious. Why you should go to them is because they have the biggest population, the most people are going there, and it has the most well-used marketplaces. So they are already industry leaders. Why you shouldn't go there is because their gas fees are crazily high. Some of the recent bad press, OpenSea top executive left his job because it was found that he was front running some of the auctions. So these are some of the reasons why people are looking for alternatives. So just as there's a search for alternatives to Ethereum mainnet and the upcoming new protocols such as DOT, Cosmos, Avalanche, etc. So these are all offering alternatives. And what we are seeing right now is that some of these are really doing very well. Like, for example, well, some of the protocols that I mentioned, they are actually doing very, very well. And they are really coming to strength right now, right? And recently with Cardano saying that their smart contracts are now available, they are looking into poised and taking a next step. All of these alternatives to Ethereum have one thing in common. They all offer faster transaction speeds and cheaper gas costs or transaction fees. So how do they stack up against Ethereum? These are some of the protocol examples. Layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is basically for a segregation of the different market segments that they represent. Layer 1 based layers are just like languages. Just imagine layer 1 is something like English, right? And then a layer 2 would be a spin-off from English, which most people would still understand. Something like Australian English or British English, or of course English started from there, right? So American English, here in Singapore we call it Singlish. So these are the equivalent of the layer 2s. And layer 2s, like I mentioned earlier, Axie Infinity is doing very well. Layer 3 is what we call the NFT issuance protocols. So some of these are really very, very popular. Nifty gateways are, like I mentioned, owned by the Winklevoss twins. Rarables, very popular. Super Rare, that's an alternative. Layer 4 are the financial protocols. So these are some of those that you see in the markets. And aggregators, amongst the aggregators, OpenSea is the most popular, right? So like I mentioned earlier, over the last 30 days, the sales volume of NFTs has exceeded $2.5 billion. So this is a tremendous growth of the NFT marketplace and the overall growth of NFTs. The waving of the flag is led by top PE deals, private equity deals, or VC deals, such as Dapper Labs that had a $300 million investment into the NBA Top Shots, right, or equivalent types of platforms. So these are really also pushing the sales of NFTs and pushing the understanding of NFTs into the popular consciousness. Right, so that's it for my brief sharing session, and thank you very much for attending this and for listening in on this. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take any of them. You can just type them into the chat. But after the entire session, I'll still be around for the breakout rooms and the question and answer session. Right. Which one was funded by Mark Cuban? I see a question. So Mintables that was founded by Zach Berg. Actually, he came to me for funding 3 years ago, so I don't have as much money as Mark Cuban, obviously. So he has done very well for himself this year. And Mark Cuban has actually invested, I think, in 3 or 4 different platforms. So Mintables is the one that I personally know that he was invested in. And he also invested in another 2 or 3 or 4 other platforms.